Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good wherever you are. I'm your host, That Lit Astro Chick, the channel where we discuss the natal charts of writers, artists, and anyone else that I find interesting. So for today's reading, I wanted to do a Synastry reading on the world-renowned gymnast Simone Biles, as well as some news that has come back up because she recently had an interview concerning her competition for the Tokyo Olympics. Very quick backstory, Simone Biles got married to Jonathan Owens, I want to say in 2022. It was recent, 2022 or 2023. And shortly after that, they went on some Ashy podcast where he revealed that he was the prize and she had pursued him. He didn't know where she was. It was completely humiliating, the way that he talked about her. And I did listen to the entire interview and nothing was taken out of context. That was what he had said. The internet went ablaze, understandably, because this is Simone Biles that he's talking about. And Simone initially came out and she defended her husband. And now she is back in the news because she has finally opened up in an interview. And she said that she felt broken down based on his responses. And I did read the response that she had. And honestly, I think what's kind of hitting her is that unfortunately she is starting to see that the veil has been lifted based on the humiliation that he has given to her. So I wanted to take a quick look at their Synastry reading, and I will get into this humiliation theme because it's going to come up as being a major part of their Synastry together. So for their birth dates, Simone Biles was born on March 14th, 1997 at 12:30 a.m. Birth time accuracy is meh, but this is what I'm going to use, in Columbus, Ohio. And Jonathan Owens was born on July 22nd, 1995. Don't have the birth time, just used a placeholder, in St. Louis, Missouri. The first thing that I notice about Simone's chart is that she is a birth number 14. This can be a number that could represent challenges, especially when it comes to movement, as well as challenges when it comes to identity. And Jonathan's chart, he was born on the 22nd. So he is somebody who will be placed in a lot of situations in his lifetime where he is either going to be controlled or he will control somebody else. Looking at their Synastry together, I would say that he is the one that is currently wearing the pants. Now, the first thing that I noticed about Simone's chart, I'll just talk about it individually for a second, is that Simone's sun is conjunct to her south node. So she is very similar to Kristen, Chance the rapper's soon-to-be ex-wife, because her sun is also conjunct to her south node as well. So Simone, as a Pisces south node, her north node is in Virgo. And to have the sun attached to the south node means that she will experience a lot of karmic lessons that are specifically around children, as well as around the men in her life, the recreational activities that she has in her life. And this might mean that her way of thinking when it comes to men, it could be perceived as being a little bit off, I would say, or I would say a lot off, because she has a lot of karmic debt that is specifically tied to men. And I think that Jonathan is somebody who's going to really bring that out in her. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't like this. The other thing I want to mention about Simone's chart is that she has a Pisces stellium. So her sun and her Mercury are conjunct, as well as her Venus and Pisces. This would make her somebody where she would view her loved ones as being like an extension of herself. And this would be all-inclusive. This includes friends, siblings, as well as people that she loves, especially men. The other thing that I wanted to talk about with her chart is that her north node is conjunct to her midheaven, and that is in Virgo. So Simone is someone who comes from many past lives where the karmic lesson that she had to learn, unfortunately, or what she will learn in this lifetime, is that the people that are going to be in her immediate surroundings, because that's the fourth house, her family, unfortunately, doesn't care too much for her. And because her sun, Mercury, and Venus are all conjunct in that fourth house, that is then going to include Jonathan in the mix. I just don't really see this as really working out for her, just looking at that aspect of her chart alone. Other aspects that I see in her chart is that she has her moon and her Pluto. Those are in opposition. That is actually an opposition in both her and Jonathan's charts. So these are two people who have seen a lot when it comes to life. There is going to be an ongoing chronic theme of rejection that both of them have experienced at the hands of their family, as well as the other people that are close to them in their lives. There was an ongoing lack of support that both of them have experienced, unfortunately. The positive thing I want to say about Simone's chart is that her Mars is conjunct to her midheaven as well as her North Node in Virgo. And I think that this would speak to why she's been very good as a gymnast, why she is a world-renowned gymnast. This could speak to why she is an Olympian in this particular lifetime. And she does have a lifetime that's going to be filled with a lot of harsh lessons, especially because she has her ascendant her ascendant is attached to her Pluto. So this is going to bring forth a lot of experiences where she's going to have to learn how to embrace resilience in this particular lifetime, as well as unfortunately a lot of experiences that will come with her bodily harm. I know that she's spoken before in the past about the abuse that she's experienced when it comes to becoming an Olympian. So I did want to point that out. So I didn't want to make this video to be too long, so I'm actually not going to talk about Jonathan's chart all that much. I do want to say, depending on the time that he was born, he could either be a late degree Cancer at that 29th degree, or he could be an early degree Leo, because I don't have the time, I just included a placeholder. But what's interesting about Jonathan is that he too has a stellium in some Mercury and Venus, also in Cancer. So because their Sun, Moon, and Mercury's trine, I actually do see why these two initially got together. Even though I don't like him and I don't care too much for him. The other thing I want to mention is that his Sun, Mercury, and Venus, those are also conjunct to his midheaven as well. So these are two people that are going to be very much in the public eye for the majority of their time. Other thing I want to point out about Jonathan's chart is that his Sun at the either 29th degree of Cancer or 0 degree of Leo, it does trine with his Pluto, which is at that 27th degree of Scorpio. So he is most likely someone who has experienced at least a lot of support in his life, or he will be getting some type of support from other people, or he has the expectation of getting support from people. And this is actually where I'm going to get right into discussing their synastry. So I will make no bones about this part. I don't like these two together. I especially don't like them together when I saw that Simone's Pisces Sun, it's conjunct with her South Node, because it means that her judgment specifically around men is going to be off in this particular lifetime. I will try to be fair, and I'll discuss some of the more positive aspects that I see in their chart, and then I'm going to discuss the ones where I just don't really like seeing them together. But the first one I want to mention is that Simone's Sun trines Jonathan's Mercury, so she most likely is somebody who could be providing him with a lot of support, or he could also provide her support. So and this is support in terms of like the way that they speak, maybe like their day-to-day living. I know that she was in the news and she discussed how they had a workout routine together and how he couldn't really complete hers, but I think that she's someone who could be very supportive of him in that particular way. I also want to say that the support is very conscious because her Mercury also trines his Pluto. This, along with another aspect that I'm going to discuss in the chart, is what makes me think that she's carrying him financially, because Mercury, it can also deal with things that we purchase, because Mercury deals with retail stores. This also could be the very close living quarters. She could be the one who is decorating it, or she could be the one who's primarily going to be running it. So she's the one who is providing him with that support. Another harmonious aspect is that her Mars trines his Uranus. So this could perhaps speak to them being in the public eye, because they're both going to be a very public couple. They will both experience a lot of success in terms of their material wealth and their reputations, because their 10th house are conjunct. And of course, this had to happen. Sorry about that. My cat had to run all over the laptop right as I'm recording. But this to me says that she might be very helpful in terms of inspiring him to try new things, inspiring some sort of expansion or innovation. She also would be very helpful in terms of inspiration, because her Mars, it also trines his Neptune. So there's something about who she really is at her core that is going to be really appealing and very, very helpful for him, especially when it comes to his experiences in life. Another positive aspect that I see is that her North Node trines his Uranus. So this could be him being known as Simone Biles' husband, as opposed to being known as that dusty Jonathan Owens who has that one dimple that he is so happy about. She is going to be instrumental in terms of him achieving his North Node status. And his North Node is in Scorpio. So Jonathan is somebody that comes from many past lives where he is, or he was, a square. And in this particular lifetime, he has to learn how to embrace resilience, as well as endure a lot of deep and transformative experiences when it comes to his life. So she is going to be very instrumental in supporting him in that. Another really positive aspect that I see is that her Uranus trines Jonathan's moon. So there could be something about this relationship, about this marriage, that could be very helpful as far as the way that he views women, about an open and an expansion to ideas, about bringing a lot of new experiences into his life. She is someone that's going to be instrumental to that, and she's going to serve as his muse. Now, what is he going to serve as hers? All right, I'll talk about one more positive aspect, and then I think that I'll talk about some of the more challenging ones. So two really good conjunctions that they have is that her Pluto, which is at the 5th degree of Sagittarius, it's conjunct to his Pluto, which is also, not his Pluto, his Jupiter, at the 5th degree of Sagittarius. So this would be her serving as like a good luck charm. This also could serve as where he could help her with expanding her ideas. This could be where he's providing his support, especially because they both have that 5th degree. So this is going to refer to Mercury. This is going to be where they're going to expand the way that they think. This also could mean that he could open her up to maybe newer experiences, such as being more in the public eye, or maybe there might be a couple that like travels together. That's a very positive aspect that I see within their chart. Another one that I think is going to be very positive before I talk about the other stuff is that their moons are conjunct as well. So they both have Gemini moons. People that have a Gemini moon, the moon refers to the aspect that was most pivotal to who we were growing up. And a Gemini moon, these are going to be people where a communal aspect was very important to who they were. Gemini moons typically have a lot of siblings because it deals with siblings, or these could have been people where when they were growing up, there was a very strong aspect related to their relatives. So they could have maybe lived with a relative or stayed with like an aunt or a cousin. They could have moved around a lot, but they maybe would have stayed within the same city. So I would say that with this aspect, they're very good at understanding each other emotionally, as well as providing that mental support on Simone's end, as well as the financial support that she's also giving to Jonathan. So enough about that. What are we really coming here for, right? Okay, so the first thing that I noticed with them that I don't really like, I really don't like this, is that her Chiron is directly conjunct to his North Node. So Chiron in astrology, I like to refer to this as being the who hurt you asteroid. With her Chiron in Scorpio, this means that she experiences a lot of a lack of power, maybe a lack of support when it comes to who she is. And because his North Node is conjunct, it's right on top of her Chiron, I think that she is providing him with support. This to me would be a dead ringer that he is receiving financial assistance from her. Because Scorpio, it's represented by Pluto. This refers to like support that we get or unearned income. So I do think that she is supporting him, but I think that this is going to be very difficult for her. This is probably a relationship where she is probably feeling drained. I don't think that the interview that we saw is just going to be like the first part of it. The next aspect that I don't really care too much for is that her sun at the 23rd degree of Pisces is conjunct to Jonathan's Saturn, which is at the 24th degree of Pisces. So this to me would speak to where they most likely are going to stay together for a long time. I know that people are saying, oh, I want them to break up. I want them to break up too. But I would say, looking at this aspect in their charts, is that he's the one who probably has more control. He's the one who has more domination of her. And I think that this is something that is going to be very beneficial for him, especially financially, with him being the Saturn person, her being the Sun person. This is her pulling him up into the public eye, and he does maintain a lot of control around her. I would guess that some of this control, it's most likely going to come from maybe making her feel bad, from humiliation, because Pisces is the sign of humiliation. It's also a sign that's going to deal with a loss of some sorts. So I would say this as in he is the one who is definitely running things in this marriage. Another interesting aspect, I would say, is that her sun, it opposes his Chiron. And this is like a direct opposition. His Chiron is at that 23rd degree of Virgo. So that would put his Chiron in her 4th house, which is also her South Node. So there could be some challenges that he might feel when it comes to his self-worth. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that back. I need to get better at reading these. But his Chiron is actually conjunct to her midheaven, as well as to her North Node. It's a wide conjunction, but it still counts as a conjunction. So yeah, this would be him embarrassing her. He feels some sense of a lack of self-worth because he's not as famous as she is in the public eye. And this could be his way of getting back at her. So i.e. that interview that he had where he said that he was the prize, he wasn't even checking for her, he didn't know where she was. All of that is because her success, it actually damages his ego quite a bit. I also want to say that because he does have that Chiron in Virgo, when it comes to the public eye and the way that people view Simone and him, he could be seen as being very lazy, possibly as someone who is hitching his wagon to her star. And I don't disagree with that, but I would just say, astrologically speaking, I could see how that could be a really big issue. Another one is that her Neptune, which is at the 29th degree of Capricorn, it squares his North Node, which is at that 1st degree of Scorpio. So it's an associative square, but it does square. So this could maybe deal with some sort of deception that might be going on, perhaps on Simone's part or maybe on his part, where there might be something around finances that we don't know. I don't know. I just really don't like when I see this. Another aspect that I just wanted to talk about again was that Chiron in Virgo being conjunct to her Mars in Virgo. Yeah, this is him like messing up her name. He's going to continue to do this as long as they are together. He is going to continue to embarrass her because this is an attack on his self-worth, unfortunately. I just don't really like seeing that. Last aspect that I wanted to discuss, and then I wanted to wrap up because I don't want this video to be too long, is that his Chiron, her Chiron, it also squares his sun. So this could possibly speak to maybe a damage of ego, or maybe her once again feeling very disempowered by this marriage. And it could be things that he could possibly have said to her at some point. Maybe he could have been the type to look at other women, because I know that the sun in women's chart, it deals with men. I just don't really like what I see in their chart. I do believe, though, that these two are most likely going to stay together for a while. They're probably going to have a couple kids together, and then Simone is going to be forced to see the writing on the wall. And I think that that's going to be very, very painful for her when she goes through that, because she's Simone Biles, for crying out loud. I mean, like, if anybody should get some respect, you know, it should be her, damn it. And the fact that unfortunately she is in this relationship. However, as a Pisces South node, she is somebody who comes from a lifetime or lifetimes, I should say, where there's been some sort of damage to her self-worth, most likely by a man. And in this particular lifetime, she's supposed to embrace going along the straight and narrow. And I think that she has done that, and she's done that at a very young age, because Virgo is also one of the signs of youth, and she was able to accomplish so much and still being so young. I just don't like these two together. I'm going to try to be as honest as I can with this one. I would also say, looking at her chart individually, I think that she is someone who would be better off being single, but she may not experience that until later on in life, because the midheaven, even if it's in Virgo, it's going to speak to having it's a late bloomer position to be in. But either way, I really do wish them nothing but the best of luck, because I'm trying to be mature about it. My laundry has just finished, so this is actually where I'm going to wrap up. So let me know what you think in the comment section. What do you think about Simone and Jonathan Synastry together? Do you think that they're going to stay together for a long time, or do you think that they're going to eventually go their separate ways? I hope for her sake that they do, but we never know. But this now concludes my Synastry reading of Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens. Thank you very much, and be sure to tune in for the next video.